Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Hello, welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. I'm Gary Wilson, your host. We're glad to have you back. Hey, if you haven't done so, if you could please go ahead and subscribe to the podcast on any one of your favorite channels. It's, Apple, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, you name it, it's out there. And while you're there, go visit globalinvestoragent.com, particularly you real estate agents right now. The market is absolutely correcting. It's in a shift. We don't know how wide or deep or big or long, but why guess? Why panic? Why not prepare? Click on the Learn More button, get more information about what it means to be an investor agent. And if you're a consumer, that's where you find the agents who know how to identify, analyze, and negotiate investment deals for you and I. Remember, I'm an investor too. So these guys are trained specifically to work with us. So go ahead and do that. And in the meantime, we got a great guest today, Pat Hiban. So first off, Pat, thank you so much for doing this. I know how busy you are, and you just got a new book coming out, and I feel privileged to have you on sharing your precious time with us.
My pleasure, Gary. Good to be here, boss.
Yep. Hey, if you wouldn't mind, give people a little bit of background, like how did you get to where you are, and then if you don't mind, I want to talk about the book because it's such an important subject, especially in today's environment.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I went to college. I got a degree in sociology. I got a 2.3 GPA, and I basically couldn't get a job. A real job, a career out of college. And the only career that I could really get into was real estate, simply because there was low barrier to entry or no barrier to entry, real estate sales. And I ended up liking it. I liked the commissions. I liked the challenge. I liked the working for myself. And so I became a real estate agent, spent 25 plus years as a real estate agent, did all kinds of reiterations and jumped from company to company, had my own company, had a mortgage company, had a title company, had a huge team, you name it, I did it. And then I quit. I wrote a book, 6 Steps to 7 Figures, which is actually coming out the next month with bigger pockets as a remake. I wrote 2 new chapters in that book and did a remake. And then so I did that, and then I started investing, and I invested in single family homes, multifamily homes, commercial real estate. Again, you name it, I tried it. Didn't like it all, didn't succeed at it all. Tried a couple of small companies too, and that same thing. Some made it, some didn't. But I was liberated, I was doing what I wanted to do. One of the companies did succeed, which was GoBundance, which about. Started out with me and 2 other guys, and now we've got over 1,000 paying members in the tribe, very successful. And then another company that worked out was DAPT Acquisitions, which was an acquisition of multifamily apartments that I did with 3 other partners. We still own that company today. We have over 2,000 doors of multifamily, mainly in Georgia and Florida. And then over time, I came up with the idea with my co-author, Tim Rode, to write a book called The Quitter's Manifesto. And we just thought it would be an ideal time for people to quit. We have this quitter's resignation that's already going on, which is kind of like the pandemic spurred it, right? People are like, well, if given them more choice and given a thought of what's going on in our society and that sort of thing, I think I'd rather be doing what I really like to do. And it's more easier now than ever in history to quit a job and get another job. It's with the LinkedIn and with Indeed and everything else, right? You don't have to like pick up a newspaper and scroll down looking for jobs. So it's more easier than ever in history. More people are changing jobs than ever in history. So we wrote this book. And Gary, it is not a strategic book. It is not a book that's going to try to convince you to quit, because quite frankly, not everybody should quit. I mean, most of the people in this world shouldn't quit because we need them. They're needed to work. They're needed to do tasks. And they want that. They're fine with their circumstance and they're fine with the job that they have. But we knew that there was people out there that were not fine with it, that whose spouses said things to us like he hates his job, or has said things direct to us of, I can't stand my boss, or I can't stand what I do. And we said, well, why don't we write a tactical book, which is a how-to book. And so we liken quitting and the process of quitting to a trap, to a cliff. So Gary, if you're going to go, if you took 1,000 people and you brought them to the edge of the cliff, 999 would be like, screw this, I'm out of here. They might take a selfie on the cliff and then run, but they're not going to hang out on the cliff. One, which we'll call an entrepreneur, a born entrepreneur, will jump off a cliff and make a parachute on the way down, or make an airplane on the way down, right? That's the entrepreneur. Most people are not entrepreneurs. Most people aren't going to do that. So it's scary. So we created a how-to guide that teaches you how to build a safety net, like a trapeze artist at a circus, a safety net on the bottom. So if you fall or you fail at your new venture, there's a safety net. And also, about 8 to 10 trapeze rings that you could swing on to get across the ravine successfully, to get across to where you want to be, the job you hate to the job you love. And that's the tactics that we teach. And it's all wrapped up in a nice little hardback book that Bigger Pockets put out. Nice.
Well, I really appreciate the concept and explanation. I know in my own family, my mother's side of the family was a typical W-2 employee type family, parents, grandparents, all the way down the line. My father's side, they were the farmers and merchants. They were the true entrepreneurs. Farming is not easy. The old saying, getting old ain't for sissies. Well, farming ain't for sissies either. Let me tell you. And owning and running businesses sometimes can be a challenge. It's like my brother and I, he's typical W-2 employee, works at University of Virginia, loves it. He's in his 60s, got a great salary, great position, and he's got a lot of freedom as a result. But he earned it through 40 some odd years of doing that kind of stuff. Me, I was the 1%. I knew my first day of job out of college, I was not born to be sitting at a desk in a corporate office, and it took me several years to have the courage to do something about it. But the result is the lifestyle of an entrepreneur. Sometimes it's smooth and easy, but oftentimes it's like being on a roller coaster in the middle of a hurricane. You have brief moments of a straightaway where you're going down and it's extremely fun, but for the rest of the time you're getting wet, you're getting rained on, and you're getting to turn here left and turn right there. So for the book, let's dig in a little bit here. You talked about the fact that the book is not designed to tell you should quit your job. It's really a manifesto. Like, if you come to that conclusion in your life, here's the things you need to know. So far I'm on the right track there?
Exactly.
Okay. So we talk about building a trampoline at the bottom, or a canopy at the bottom to catch you should you actually have a crisis, and maybe even the rings to jump from point to point. So can you come up with maybe a couple of excerpts from the book? Maybe what are one or two of those rings, and what is that canopy at the bottom? If we can get a little meat and potatoes there, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. You got it. So, so let's go into some of the rings first. One of the things we recommend is you create something called your quit team. And your quit team, and we actually have you drafted out in the book, and we have a companion guide that we give out for free as well. if everything we talk about today, by the way, Gary, I made a really cool, basically a simple website that has a way to get a hold of me, has a way to get the book, has a way to get more information if you need more help quitting. But there's a playbook, there's a quitter's playbook that helps you draft out your quit team. But here's what the quit team looks like. It's basically if you took a box and you cut it in fours, and in each quarter of the box you put a couple of people's names, and on the quit team, your first box of people is these are going to be your. You better edit this for a second. Okay. I'm brain farting.
Let's see the box with the four.
Yeah, you got the. You got the mentors, you got the coaches, you got the stakeholders, and you got the partners. Okay. So you break the box into four. And on the first box you got is the stakeholders. So with the stakeholders, these are people like your wife, your husband, your brother, sister, whatever. People that are going to get behind you and support you and be like, hey, we're with you. You're going to succeed. I believe in you. Your emotional support. Then you got your partners, and your partners are different in that they're tied to you financially, most likely, but indirectly. So like if you're opening a real estate company, this would be your mortgage company, your title companies, your people that if you do well, they're going to do well, right? Any contractors that you use, anybody that you see in your business that you're going to utilize, and they're going to utilize you back or give you referrals back or whatever, that is a partner. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the next is your mentors, and your mentors is not this guy, with an old beard sitting at the top of a hill underneath a tree giving you advice on a million different things in life. A mentor is a very specific person in your business who has a proven track record. So like, let's say you're going to buy an independent Exxon station. You would, a mentor would be another person that owns 2 or 3 independent Exxon stations, who makes a ton of money doing it, and who is willing to share with you how to do it. They're going to tell you things specifically like, hey, don't put the juicy fruit gum there, put the beef jerky there because you make 60 cents more profit or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they're going to give you proven advice. Yeah. For success. And then the last is a coach, and the coaches that you want, these are more or less accountability coaches. These are people that you're going to tell them, okay, these are the things that are going to make me successful if I do them every day. Mm-hmm. Whatever. Let's say you're opening a pizza place. Something that would make you successful every day would be going to schools and saying, hey, at the next school fair, I'd like to supply the pizzas, or the PTA dinner, I'd like to supply the pizzas and give them a discount and get them to start using you, that sort of thing. So, the coach is going to keep you accountable to taking action that's going to get you business and make sure your business succeeds, whatever it may be, whatever your daily activities are. So you fill out those 4s, you got maybe 8, 10 names. That's your team. That's what we call the quit team. Yeah.
Well, I like that. I like that description too, especially the when you explain who a mentor is, and you define that person, and who a coach is. It's 2 different roles. And I know when I first got into this, my business that I'm in now, I always thought teachers, trainers, coaches, mentor, all kind of the same genre, but really they serve specific purposes. So for somebody, so let's say we have somebody that's in corporate world, they're 10 years in and they realize they're the proverbial Dilbert cartoon of the skeleton in a computer with cobwebs all over it. They're dying spiritually. and they're smart. They have good ideas, and maybe they like real estate too. They want to invest in real estate. Um, you mentioned GoBundance, or this is where I'm going with this. You mentioned GoBundance, and everybody listening, this show is not about promoting anything like GoBundance. Although I would tell you, I was a member of GoBundance for 5, 6, 7 years, maybe something like that. Some of the best years of my life, and I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for GoBundance and the relationships that I developed in it. In fact, I'll tell you one right now is that Pat Hiban and I turns out from the same town, Columbia, Maryland, the same junior high school, and actually dated sisters. And I didn't know that till we met in Tahoe back in 2015, and we talked about that, and it was like, what a small world, man. And there's other guys, like, if there's a men's organization and a women's organization, and I suggest if you got that gene inside of you, and you want to grow as a person, as a human being, with other top level people, that is the one organization on the planet. I'm telling you, that'll get you there. I don't care. They could charge $1 million a year, and it would be worth it. And they don't charge that, by the way, not even close to it. It's definitely affordable and approachable. There's requirements, but go to GoBundance.com and check it out. I'm telling you, you need to do that. So back to this here. That was one area I knew where I could find people that were like you described, a mentor who'd actually is doing what I'm wanting to do. They're already doing it. They're successful, and they can give me all those little nuances and all those little tidbits. So would you agree being part of a network, reaching out, being part of a fellowship is a really important thing to do to find maybe your mentors and coaches,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're the old adage, you are the average of the 5 people you hang around the most, you know what I mean? And that's where you learn the most from. You just start acting like people you hang around.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And then you manifest things together. I mean, my life is a testament.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to that. Like I met David Osborne at a seminar in Phoenix, Arizona. I was from Maryland. He was from Dallas, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were in our low 30s, 25 years ago. Then I met Tim Rode. I think he was like 41. I was like 37, 35, something. Then I met Andrew Cushman, all these people who I would never have met at different seminars. And then next thing you know, I own businesses with them, right? And real estate with them. And people can't understand, right? I don't think I would have been able to move from Maryland to South Carolina had it not been for just my ability to kind of get out from under the local rug, kind of, and express myself out there, and be willing to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's very hard to go into business with people or to invest with people that are not local unless you're, willing to travel and go. And so anyways, so it's fascinating. Some people can't understand it. Like the only people that they know outside of their state are their relatives that happen to live outside of their state.
Right.
Organizations like GoBundance and many other organizations out there, any mastermind, I don't care what you call it, mm-hmm. Has ability to link you up with like-minded people that you're like, hey, this guy thinks like me and acts like me, but he's richer than me, or he's thinner than me, or he's, a better dad than me, and it inspires you to do better.
I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you for participating in the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. Also wanted to let you know that the book Global Investor Agent is officially out in print and in Kindle on Amazon. You can get it by clicking on the link right here. If you are an agent, definitely grab yourself a copy. This book, guys, was not just written by me. I also included 8 other investor agents from around the country. And I didn't just handpick them. I literally opened it up to the entire audience, and it was first come, first serve. So you're going to get feedback from radio agents all the way up to top 25 team leaders. Some on my team, some are not on my team, with valuable insight and instructions and guidance and actual checklist to follow to not just survive but thrive in this market. I know you're looking for that advantage, and this is it. By the way, if you are an investor, grab a copy for your agent. And for everybody, all profits from the sale of the book, Kindle and print, all go to the Healing House Foundation, 100%. Thank you for doing that too, guys. Let's get back to the show.
Yeah,
I agree. It's just, you mentioned earlier, you're the average of the 5 people around you, and that's true statement. But to really fully embrace and understand what it means to build these relationships, you got to experience. It's just one of those things in life. We can talk about it, we can show you the picture, show you the postcard, but there's nothing like being there in person. And I'm telling you that there's other great organizations, Elite Entrepreneurs. That was another one I was a part of for years. That was the old Infusionsoft guys, Icon. They had this annual conference called Icon, Infusionsoft Conference. Now it's something called Keep, but the point is that Elite Entrepreneurs Mastermind group is still there and strong. And if you're a business person, you want to create a business, that's a great organization to be a part of. And by the way, there's a really good book you can read, going back to GoBundance, called A Tribe of Millionaires. Okay. Pat was an integral part of that book, and I'm actually in the book. It's a great story, one of the best stories I've ever read, and it'll really help you understand the power of relationship and making sure that you owe it to yourself to be part of groups of other people that are high-minded, top-minded, and the kind of person you want to be. Hey, let's get back to the Quitter's Manifesto. So we talked about some of the rings. What about the safety net?
Yeah. Well, so you can't just a lot of people, the reason that they don't never quit is because they have these horrific thoughts of the bottom. The bottom being, I'm going to be living in my car and begging. And what we encourage people to do is kind of, answer a couple of questions. And the first is the cliche question from Tony Robbins, which is, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great journaling question. And you would write, oh, I would do this, I would do that, I would do. If you knew you couldn't fail, there's a million things you would do, and you would follow your passion. Then we ask a much more realistic, tough question, which is, what would you do if you did fail? Like if you did fail, and what, by answering that, a lot of people find out that, like, well, if I did fail, I could have, my boss would probably hire me back because they really like me. If I did fail, I'd probably just go work for Megan. She has a company, you know what I mean? And she knows that I do good work. If I did fail this, and they find out that the reality of it is a lot sunnier than living in your car and begging. Right. And then the last question, which is very introspective, is, am I failing now?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, depending on how deep you journal on that, you may be failing now. We also have something in there called a soul sucking meter, which we have a series of questions that you answer. And if you score less than an average of a 7, then your soul is getting sucked out of you at your job, and you definitely should change your job. So once you know that you should change, then we kind of say, okay, well, what is it you want to do? What is it that you like to do? Where does your passion lies? And we help you figure out, what you could do instead. And then we say, okay, how much money are you going to need? Because a lot of people don't think about this, right? I mean, you can't just quit, and then if you have obligations and bills to pay and stuff like that. So we actually ask you to write it all out and chart out your expenses. And then we say, okay, where are you going to get 3 months or 6 months or whatever the amount that you need, right? Everybody's a little different. But let's say you need 6 months. Okay, well, where am I going to get it? And then we list out some options where you could get it. You could get a home equity loan. You can borrow from your parents. You could do this. There's a lot of different options, and we list them all out. And then you get the reader to think, okay, so, how am I going to get this cushion? And so it's a process to build that safety net. But the idea is to, mentally and realistically do certain things that are going to make it a lot easier, so that if you do fail, you're going to bounce right off of that safety net. It's not going to be this splat at the bottom of the ravine.
Yeah, I like it. What's interesting too is, and most entrepreneurs would agree with this. If you've had some ups and downs, which is more likely to happen when you're an entrepreneur, because you're the person, the buck stops there. You're the business, in the beginning, at least anyways, till you grow the business. But the reality is you're right. The worst case scenario, and at least in my experience and people I know, is never really all that bad. It's a learning experience is what it is. You're like, okay, I know what happened. I analyzed it. I dissected it. I'm learning from it. I'm getting back on the horse and riding again. And what happens, everybody listening here, is you actually develop. It's a skill you develop. It's a skill you develop to, like, so now the business I'm building now is grown way faster and way further than the prior 6 businesses. The 6th business grew faster than the 5th business. You actually get better at those skills of building and growing a business, and as a person too, by the way. And you learn how to attract the right people. You've switched from, what do I have to do, to who do I have to bring on board. It's the more about the who, and the what and the how tend to work itself out, because the who, that person knows their stuff. That's their lane. They're good at it. So on the book, it sounds like, is the book written? Is it laid out like more like a journey, like Tribe of Millionaires, or kind of describe the
no, it's not like Tribe of Millionaires is a fable. This is more stories from myself and Tim, real life stories. And then in addition, what we did is we took 7 quitters, 7 people who had quit their job successfully to do something that they love. And we interviewed them, and we put their case studies and what they learned in the book.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. Now, I know we're going to get close on time here, but is it possible to squeeze in one of those case studies? You can change the names if you need to, or but
I mean, there's Gabe, who was in the National Guard, and he was a phys ed teacher, and he knew that he wanted to be a real estate investor, and he tells how he successfully did that. We have another person that was I think she did nails, and did nails and hair and stuff like that. And she hated it. Mm-hmm. And she went on to become, she didn't like that anymore. She wanted to do something more professional, something with a little more freedom. And she became like a mobile notary person in a whole new town, in a whole new area. So yeah, there's good stuff.
Was Gabe, was that the Duke Jami? I used to call him the Duke.
No, the other, Gabe Hamill.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome. Well, I tell you what, on if without giving away the ending of the story and the book, is there a portion of the book, like maybe typically towards the end, it's like, hey guys, this is really in a nutshell. Here's the 3 things. Here's the 3 things that are most important if you're considering leaving your corporate gig or whatever it is you're doing. Maybe you've already got a small business you don't like, to really do the thing you love if you couldn't fail. Is there like maybe it's top 10, something like that you can share?
Well, I think that the main thing, Gary, that people need to know is that quitting is scary. And I think a lot of people are in denial. You know what I mean? They need to be told that it's okay to be scared. Like the reason that you don't do things in life is because you're scared to do them.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't want to be like rah saying, don't be scared, don't be scared. It's gonna be okay. Do it. Believe in yourself, and a whole bunch of cliches like that. We wanted to be more like, yeah, it is scary. Let's acknowledge it. Let's admit it. Let's come to terms with how scary it is. And then let's figure out how to make it less scary to the point where the fear of doing it doesn't keep you from doing it anymore, because you're not as scared anymore. If you're 0% scared, you're probably going to fail because you're not alert. You know, you're not like freaking out about whether to make it or not. And it's not going to give you the power and the desire to crush it. You know what I mean? So being scared is a good thing. It gets you off your ass. So we really want people to understand and acknowledge that it is scary, that there is fear. Here's how you could take it away, or some of it away, so it's less scary for you. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. There's a lot of sayings about, what courage is. Courage is, being able to will yourself to action in spite of being afraid. And I've never fought in war, and I don't think you have either, Pat. But I know people personally who've been in battle and hand-to-hand combat, and they'll tell you that it's the training, all the discipline, the practice that prepares you for being able to take action in spite of being in fear, because the consequences are, obviously, pretty dramatic. If you don't stand up and fight, you're gonna get a problem on your hands. So, but in any case, there's lots of words and lots of wisdom in those words. And I want to mention something here real quick. You mentioned Tim Rhodes earlier. So everybody listening, there's another great organization called One Life Fully Lived that Tim Rhodes created himself. He's an amazing person. I've got to know him personally over the years. It's his life passion right now. He's not really doing much else other than really that. In this book, he was co-author with Pat on this book, The Quitter's Manifesto. And by the way, Pat actually wrote his first book, Pat mentioned earlier, 6 Steps to 7 Figures. I think you should definitely read that, especially if you're in real estate. Pat and I come from real estate investing and brokerage both. In fact, Pat, you were at one point, I think you were the number 1 agent worldwide in RE/MAX, and then you moved to Keller Williams, and you were the number 1 agent there. Is that correct? So everybody listening, you've got a real genuine know-how person, how-to person. Is there, and you can get the book because he wrote the book with Tim, Quitter's Manifesto, and how you actually structure your exit from the corporate world or whatever it is you're doing now to the thing you want to do. So in any case, I'm excited about it. I did go online and find it and Google it and everything. But how can people, what's the website, Pat, or how can people locate this book and even find you and your webpage,
The thing, Gary, that is going to direct everybody to anywhere they want to be is Quitter's Manifesto book.
Okay.
It's quittersmanifestobook.com. There's a link there. You can reach out to me and Tim on there. You can get the book, and you can get more information on the coaching products we have in addition to the book.
Okay, quittersmanifestobook.com. Okay. In addition to the book, they can get information on mentorship, coaching. Is the book, is that the sole place to get the book right there?
Yeah, well, it's in bookstores now. It's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's everywhere. So,
gotcha. All right. Okay, everybody listening, if you could, please leave a review for this podcast. I mean, this was good. You've got a good friend in Pat Hiban, and also a really good example of how to do what it is you're looking to do. I know everybody has that dream. If you're on the other side, you're in the corporate world, or you're have a business that you got into, maybe it was your parents' business, and you're really not finding that fulfillment. And again, Pat said in the beginning, it's not for everybody. Not everybody should leave their day job, like my brother. But if you think you are that person, you're the 1%, absolutely grab the book, go online and have yourself a conversation. So, Pat, any final words of wisdom? A lesson maybe like from your granddad or something like that,
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I just encourage everybody to be themselves and to go their own path. And, we'd love for them to give the book a try and take a listen or take a read and give us their feedback online.
You got it, man. Okay, everybody, listen, go to quittersmanifestobook.com. Check it out, get yourself a copy. And then I highly encourage you to have a conversation with Tim and or Pat. I know them both personally, and I can tell you they're good guys, regular folks. I mean, we didn't grow up, in fact, the three of us have a lot in common is we didn't grow up with silver spoons in our mouth. We built what we have from the ground up, and part of it was being part of a network, a group of people like GoBundance that help us surround ourselves with other people who've been where we want to go. I can't say enough about that. But you guys take care of yourselves. Please leave that good review. And while you're out there, leaving a review for this podcast. And Pat, go to globalinvestoragent.com. Click on the Learn More button if you're an agent, or if you're anybody, you just want to learn more about it. And if you just want to find somebody that help you invest, that knows how to get the deals on and off market, it doesn't cost you a dime, definitely go to the website and check it out there too. So I will see you on the next Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, and God bless you and your families.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.